Welcome, Linda, to the Biohacker Babes podcast. Your second of three podcasts today. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us your time. We met you in Austin recently at the Health Optimization Summit. We ran to your booth because there was some rumblings about the WAVwatch. And we were like, we have to meet her. We have to see what this amazing thing that everyone was talking about was, what it was. So we are talking about the WAVwatch today, but more importantly, we are talking about sound frequencies and how they can support our body's natural healing potential. And this has been around forever, right? I'm sure you have so many stats and so much information, but I just think in our modern conventional medical approach, we don't really talk about this, but this goes way back. Like Nikola Tesla was talking all about sound. And I think his famous quote was like, if you want the secrets of the universe, you got to think about energy, vibration, frequency. And there's so much to dig into there. So when it comes to sound, I think we think of that as something that we hear, but our body and our cells also feel it. Can you talk to us about what exactly is sound frequency in terms of helping the body and its healing potential?
Well, I think you've hit on so much already, but I think what I maybe want to emphasize first is that we're kind of, we hear sound and we take it for granted, but we really haven't applied it in our lives to be helpful to us. And so that's something that we need to have our eyes opened on. I take a lot of time to educate people about sound, and you're asking just the perfect questions. And people do know about, Tesla saying or whatever, but we still don't apply it. So if we start with the really basic idea, everybody has listened to a song before. You're in your car, you hear your favorite song come up, you turn it up really loud, and then you move and groove and do something. We know that it changes our countenance. We just relax or we get more excited or whatever it is. It does change us. But that's all we knew. We don't even think about it anymore. But Nikola Tesla, you've already mentioned him, is somebody that said that there's something called a mortal oscillation rate. And he has told us over 100 years ago that sound could be used to self-amplify other things inside our body and basically, quote unquote, kill viruses, bacteria, pathogens, that kind of thing. So we're not even applying that idea. And it's so useful because sound permeates our body. It goes through every cell, through our skin, and it goes through our bones. It zips through that. But we don't pay any attention to that. We kind of know the idea about an opera singer sings a high note and breaks a glass. Well, that's what Tesla told us the mortal oscillation rate is. But have you ever used that? Have you ever done anything with it? Have we ever protected ourselves during a bad time when there's a season where there's some health problems? We don't protect ourselves with sound. Sound is the first thing that we hear in the womb. They say it kind of sounds like a drum corps. I don't know how they figured that out, but the heartbeat, and then sound is usually the last sense that we have as we pass from this earth. But hey, wake up, people. We could be using sound for our bodies all the time. We just really need to have our eyes open. So that's what I tried to do with the WAVwatch. So what happens when you actually are feeling a vibration and it goes into your cell is that there are about 70 receptors inside every cell. And those receptors start to move and they vibrate. So that makes the whole cell vibrate. And then the next cell vibrates and the next cell. And then it just zips through your body faster than the speed of sound. How hard is that?
So cool.
It's not hard. And we are not taking advantage of that simplistic idea. I can tell you why I think that we're not taking advantage of it, but that might be another conversation.
I mean, people probably know, but it needs to be said a lot. So go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in Tesla's time, he actually developed several ideas with frequencies, obviously. And I always like to say this, but I read somewhere on the internet, and through the Tesla community, that he was friends with Mark Twain, and he had developed a vibration plate of some kind. And so Mark Twain would visit or whatever, and they would experiment with these frequencies. So people have used them somewhat, and then Tesla's ideas were kind of passed on, time went by. And then the next person that picked up frequency use was Royal Raymond Rife. And he is known as the father of frequencies. And there's huge stories about him and books. He was basically destroyed. He developed a huge microscope that has never been duplicated today. And he could actually see different pathogens that Tesla talked about and that mortal oscillation rate. So his microscope would show that when a particular frequency was introduced to something in your body, that there would be a reaction, and two frequencies that were the same frequency. That's really what they are. They're the exact same frequency. They meet and they self-amplify and fall apart. So Royal Raymond Rife had images of that and was able to show that. And then he was also able to show how fast sound would move through your body. But what I think happened, this is maybe a little bit more speculation on my part, but the AMA was starting up about that time, and they actually banned frequencies. Now, why would they ban frequencies? Why would they ban frequencies?
Because they work? Because they work?
There you go.
They're free, they're easy, they can help us heal.
Yeah, actually our dad, I'll check with him later to make sure it's okay to share this, but our dad had a Rife machine when we were kids. And one day, two men in black suits knocked on the front door and said, basically, you can just hand that over to us and we'll just leave. If you don't fight us, we'll just take it. And they took it. And that was in the 90s.
So you know exactly what I'm talking about firsthand,
Yeah.
Yes.
That frequencies have been labeled and so many things have happened because they work, because they're free, because they move through your body faster than the speed of sound. Now, the main idea that I like to share is that they know that sound frequencies move through your body, again, faster than the speed of sound. But when we take something else in a pill form, maybe enough said, I think you can get my gist. If we take something in a pill form, that is a chemical wave. And that chemical wave moves through our body so slow, it's like a foot a second. And it's so slow that our body burns up 98% of it. So only 2% gets through our body. So we have to take that pill over and over and over again to get any results. Well, to me, that just spells money. It's all about money, but there's the exact example why. I had never really thought about that until I started studying frequencies more and more. So, like you say, it does work. There's not very many side effects. Frequencies can be measured for new mutations and shared instantly around the world now, so that we could be using Tesla's mortal oscillation rate. We could be doing that, but are we? No, we are not using that unless you know about the WAVwatch.
Yeah, we all got it.
Yay.
I feel like we could end the podcast here. Like as the kids are saying, say less. Like that's enough. We get it. That it's just so obvious to us. But yeah, thank you so much for such a powerful intro. It's very clear, and we love sound. So excited to talk more about what this can do.
Well, I hope I didn't jump in and say too much because I'm a passionate person.
Oh no, I mean we got lots of questions, but I will say what I love is, Lauren and I have been exposed to different therapies over the years, but a lot are maybe you have to go to a center and you have to pay to use it, or it's really big and bulky, you can't travel with it. And that's why when we heard about the WAVwatch, we were like, this is just too perfect. Like who doesn't mind just wearing a watch on their wrist, and you can take it. I just went to Europe. I brought that with me. Like it was the only biohack I brought with me because everything else is too big to travel with.
It's so easy. Pills,
it's sporty.
Yeah. So I'm curious, with sound frequency, how is that different from like a vibration therapy, or is there some crossover with that?
can't say on every single tool, but so many of our tools are using more an electrical, a frequency. They're not using pure acoustical sounds. And that's what the WAVwatch is. So some of those sounds are even ultrasound, some of them are low, ultra low sounds. And then we have EMFs today in our world. And so many things are crossing over, and they're using frequencies that man has modified or man has made, and using those in different ways.
Okay. And you made a really good point. So ultrasound, that's one that a lot of people know about. And I mean, there's other therapies, right, that they're using for, I've heard even cancer now, kidney stones. That's all sound frequency, correct?
Exactly. So
Okay.
lithotripsy, great comment there. Lithotripsy is ultrasound, and that's what they use for kidney stones. And even the Scientific American had an article and quote, that says that they don't really know which frequencies to use, so they just bombard you with everything. And I keep hearing more and more stories about lithotripsy, and yeah, people do lose, maybe the kidney stones do break down. But my neighbor told me that he had, he was, like this, they were pounding him with frequencies. And he said it was 7,000 times. And then he's all bruised up, and just stuff like this.
Wow.
And somebody else added, oh yeah. And then I peed blood for, a week after it, Well, I have had 30 people have kidney stones go away just wearing a watch on their wrist. And all they had to do was tap it and find the location for the frequency for kidneys, And so acoustical frequencies can be so much more targeted and easy on your body. Very, very easy to use that way. And then some of the latest studies that have been done are on histotripsy, and that is using ultrasound frequencies for your liver. And so a study was done for actually, quote unquote, curing cancer, breaking down tumors with histotripsy, but frequencies also. So that was pretty interesting that the FDA did give clearance to that. So there's starting to be a little bit more turnaround, and people paying attention, but we can do it on our own. We don't have to have big, expensive tools. We can hum, we can sing, we can, and that's where the enthusiasm for frequencies came from, is the fact that God gave us our voices. God gave us things to use already. We don't have to make it super hard.
Yeah. Just singing some Disney songs is always healing.
That's an option. Disney's an option. Or I think about just so many cultures around the world. We don't have a lot of that in this country, but just like families that gather around and music is part of their gathering or part of their healing. We really just don't use that a lot.
But sound bowls. Sound bowls.
But as you mentioned earlier, we've all heard music and felt good. And it was interesting what you said about just like blasting with tons of frequencies. I'm feeling like, oh, that's a lot of dissonance. But with these specific gentle frequencies, there's harmony and resonance, would you say? Are we creating resonance in the body?
Yes, definitely.
Can you talk about how do you define resonance, and what would we like actually feel when our body's in a resonant state?
Well, hopefully I'm making sense with this, but resonance is the measurement, of a frequency. And when two like frequencies meet, they resonate, So that's the idea. So what the WAVwatch is full of, or what Tesla measured, and then Royal Raymond Rife, were frequencies. And so if you are absorbing these frequencies in some manner, and you have something inside your body that is operating at the same frequency, they will meet and resonate, So they're going to meet together. So, and a reaction can happen, whether that is something breaking apart, or whether that's something strengthening or harmonizing or working in a better manner, rebalancing, that type of thing. Changes can happen when frequencies resonate because they're meeting and they vibrate in harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that makes
similar
sense.
to like two voices that are harmonizing, like singing two parts, they come together and it's like even
Oh, great
more
explanation.
beautiful. And so there's like this ripple effect.
Hmm.
Same thing in the
Yeah.
cells.
Yes. But
Yeah.
if it's one, but sometimes those frequencies do make things break apart, again, mortal oscillation rate. But usually inside our body, like with a body part, a muscle or whatever, those frequencies are going to strengthen, balance.
Yeah. So
Oh,
what
okay.
decides whether it strengthens or breaks it apart? Is it just it's honoring the body's natural process and whatever is meant to happen will happen?
I think you answered the question. Yes, that's a really good way.
And that
I'm
was
like,
going to be
that
my
was a question
question.
mark.
Yeah.
Sure how to
Okay.
answer
Yeah.
that one. I
Because I
know a
was
lot
thinking
about
like,
frequencies, but not that exact answer.
okay.
You answered it really well.
Because if you have
Yeah.
something like, parasites or Epstein-Barr, it's like the body would know when those meet, it's you need to get rid of it. Versus
Right.
if you run something like sleep 9 p.m. or mental clarity, that is more meeting and raising the
Yes. Raising the vibration. Yes.
vibration.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 That's what I would say, but I have not seen a written explanation of how our body knows when something needs to self-amplify and fall apart versus, strengthen. Mhm.
The human body is very smart.
There
It
you
feels
go.
like the difference between conventional and maybe more biological functional medicine, like we're honoring what the body is supposed to do versus
Mhm.
we're trying to micromanage with conventional. Feels
We
like.
are,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
lately I've started using this, ridiculous example, but it's like to me, we think we need to go to the moon and find some mineral back up on the moon and then come back and then tell everybody that we need to take this mineral that's vital for our lives. And that's what we're doing now. We're being so overboard. We're spending millions of dollars to find some little tiny protein or something or mineral. And I'm just being silly with going to the moon and back, but that really is how ridiculous we're getting to be. And then we tend to have an overabundance of pills that we think we need to take, even whether it's something natural. And I'm not saying that natural things aren't good. I'm just saying we're kind of going overboard. So
Yeah.
frequencies can bring us back into balance very easily without all the fluff. They're here, they're on our body. We can share frequencies very easily.
And
Yeah.
maybe
That's
help your
beautiful.
cells to absorb more nutrients from your supplements. Like it's going to maybe even work better
I
because
think the
of the
most
harmony.
important thing for our cells is minerals. Make sure that you have the correct amount of minerals. And so if I get to talk about anything or, that's my other favorite passion, it's salt, because that has been something that, again, we've been misguided on, and we are throwing good salt away, and we're putting better salt on our highways than we take in our bodies. That's a way to think about it.
Yeah.
We're just throwing it away. And so every cell in our body needs the correct minerals, and the minerals have to be right for the amino acids to work, for enzymes to work, for even our vitamins won't work correctly if we don't have the correct balance of minerals. So we're forgetting that. So that would be the main thing I would tell people to take if they are wanting to make sure the WAVwatch works really well, is to make sure you're balanced with minerals. And I do that by teaching people how to muscle test and pick the correct salt. So whether it's a Himalayan salt, a Celtic sea salt, or a Redmond's real salt, those are my favorite ones at this point in time. But they have about 80 different minerals in them, and they're different colored because they have different minerals in them. So at different points, we might need a different mineral balance, or somebody might need something different.
Mm. Yeah, or the one I've just started trying, Baja, I think is the one. They were at the Health Optimization Summit. But the funny thing about that one is they were giving out free bags of salt to everyone, and then everyone was taking it to the airport in their carry-on bag, and TSA was stopping. They said by the time I got into the airport at 5 o'clock on Sunday, they said we've already stopped 200 people with this salt in their bag. The salt was triggering the security system.
I was in that
Not know
backup
that.
line. It
Yeah.
was like everyone from the conference. I was like, oh, you got the salt. You got the salt. Yeah, we got the salt.
Yeah. But it was like
Isn't
free
that
salt.
powerful? To
Free
back up
salt.
your point, minerals are that powerful. It's
Yeah.
throwing off security systems.
Yes.
That
Oh
is
my
great.
goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so Linda, I would love to get into some like use case scenarios with the watch since Lauren and I have had a couple months to experiment with it. I would say my number one question is, how do you know what you should run in the moment? Like to be honest, I've just been listening to my intuition. Like I scroll through and I'm like, what grabs my eye? Like first grab, I'm like, I'm going to do that one. Or unless I have something specific, obviously getting ready for bedtime, I'm going to go for sleep. Podcast, I'm going to go for one of the cognitive wellness ones. But do you have any like advice on that as to what we should be looking at?
Again, I think you just gave a wonderful description, intuitive,
Okay, great.
you're your own self-care person. I mean, if you have a headache, if your little
Yeah.
toe hurts, that kind of thing. So, or what you're, going to be experiencing, whether it's nighttime sleep or like you mentioned, your podcast. So it does have to be that way a little bit more. Now, when mothers are sharing the watch with their children, they're going to have to be thinking through a little bit more, and hopefully their intuition will come through. They know if that child has a sore throat, so they're going to be looking in the folder for ideas about germs. So
Okay.
I tried to simplify it. I have had a different model when I kicked it off about in 2019, I guess is what it was. I had a different model and I could be a lot more specific, but the FDA has suggested that I combine phrases and make it a little bit more generic,
Hmm.
So within that particular mode, to keep this a general wellness product, you do have to look a little bit deeper because the phrasing is a little bit more generic. It doesn't necessarily say cold, anymore. It might say, immune support, that type of idea.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
been my experience too. And I'm just, right now I'm just running adrenal health, and
I
I
love
just
that
felt
one.
like I was just like, oh, that feels right today. But I've run the Wave, which is aligned with
Parasites.
parasites. And I
Mhm.
definitely always do the sleep one. But can we zoom out? Can you talk about all the possible journeys? I think there's thousands because each track has like 20 to 30 frequencies, and then times how many
Yes.
different
Yeah.
options are you could possibly play.
So I'm not saying I'm a mathematical genius, but I think there's about 24,000 frequencies on the WAVwatch.
Wow.
How
Wow.
that is done is that when I put frequencies together that were basically from Rife to start with, but I did have to do some mathematical work to make them acoustical frequencies because some of them were higher ultrasound frequencies. And so I had to do, a formula to bring them into the acoustical field. And then some of those frequency measurements already had 20 to 30 frequencies inside it. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I thought it would be just like one whole tone, but it was not. So many of Rife's frequencies have multiple frequencies inside. So they might have 728 and 982 and 1058 or whatever the combination would be. And so by the time I put those together, I had over 1,100 different ideas that I selected to put on the WAVwatch. And if they had up to 30 frequencies in them, there could be that many frequencies on the watch itself. Now, some of the frequencies are a single tone. So when we talk about solfeggio frequencies or chakras, or which I did label harmonize, those are single frequencies. So, we had just kind of a variation there of different ideas.
Okay.
Are there particular tracks that we could scroll through to find those solfeggio tones? Or is that
Yes,
more of a
I
back
think the
end piece
solfeggio
of?
one actually says that. So it says solfeggio.
I'm just looking at my little guide to see what I see.
I was thinking
you
it
have
said
Yeah.
that.
I was going to
Yeah.
say, if anyone, oh, there we go. Anyone
If you're
watching on
on YouTube, oh yeah,
YouTube,
we all got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
So
is
here we
like
go.
the little map. Yeah.
Well, I
It's so
take
fun to
that
look
back. It
through.
says harmonize, and then um,
I do harmonize a lot. So
yeah.
that's cool to
Mhm.
hear.
And
I
then
didn't really know
move.
what that was.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a um, frequency finder on the website. And if you want to know where a particular frequency might be, let's just say you're looking for Epstein-Barr virus, you can just type it in on that frequency finder and it will tell you what exact folder it is in, you know. So, and then there's also a more in-depth listing of some of the frequencies inside each one of these 146 ideas that we have listed generically. I need to keep using that word, but it was really impressed upon me by the FDA that generic is a good word. So
got
we
it.
Understand.
Totally. Yeah. So actually, it's the Epstein-Barr virus. I've run that a couple times, but like for something like that, where you like, you know, that's a concern for you, you want to run that. Can you run it too much? Is it like run it once a day until you feel better? Like, how do you know?
No, because once you find the set that the Epstein-Barr virus is in, it's going to run an hour and 4 minutes. So each of those sets inside the hour and 4 minutes, you know, usually there's about 8 of them, so they're 8 minutes long. So there's one in there for Epstein-Barr virus, and then there are other things like inflammation, pain, and trauma, and other things in that folder. And so you would not be running just Epstein-Barr virus all day long. You would be running a variation of ideas that all add to your body's ability to get rid of Epstein-Barr virus, plus detoxify it. So there's lymph node detoxification in that folder also. So that overall gives you a better chance of getting rid of that virus and eliminating it from your body.
That is very cool. Wow. Did not know that.
Can you OD on these things? Like, could we just keep playing them over and over? Like, what's the optimal?
Well, I will say that I haven't had very many side effects. One of the probably the funniest when I was able to put a specific frequency name, you know, I had one labeled constipation. You know, and so somebody ran that over and over and over again, and then they had the opposite effect. You know, so they have mentioned that on their podcast, and so we've laughed about it. But other than that, we might have a little bit. Once in a while, there are people who tell me they have had a Herxheimer's reaction when they played the Lyme folder, and that is pretty normal, you know.
Yeah.
But again, there are many particular ideas in there, so you're not just playing one idea for 3 hours. That folder is longer because there are so many ideas about Lyme disease that people do not realize. And so I put them all in one folder so that you get the best again, and everything is put together. Now, I think I have a funny way of explaining what I did when I had to simplify and I could not use the exact phrasing that I wanted to. So I have one that is called after party support or after party care. You know, don't you just laugh at that?
Yeah.
And everybody knows immediately, well, what do you need when you're drunk? What do you need?
Yeah.
So you need to, you need, you know, dehydration is in that folder, you know, lymph detoxification, liver detoxification, kidney detoxification, headache, vomiting, you know, those kind of things are packed into there. All of those frequencies are in that label after party support. So you don't have to look anymore. That's pretty much an all-purpose folder for that problem.
Okay. That's very cool for that, but also for the underlying infections like a Lyme. Like you said, we're not just breaking down the virus, but giving support to drainage and lymph and inflammation and pain and emotions. I love that comprehensive approach. So,
and I kind of find out I need to do that because people think they might know about Lyme disease. And like on my previous one where you could, you know, pick and choose which frequencies you wanted to use. There was somebody who mentioned that they had Lyme disease. And I said, oh, good. Did you use the whole folder that I had? She said, no, I just put Lyme disease in there, you know, to play. And I'm going, that's not going to do the trick. You have to play everything that I put together, you know. And so when I put the new watch together, you can't change it. It's all there, you know. So,
a little more foolproof. That's great.
Yeah, definitely.
So for anyone that doesn't know about the WAVwatch, I just want to go through like general categories. So we have brainwave support, we have germ support, we have organ support, pain, self-care, which includes the after party support, but there's like small things like nail wellness, just pulling out random things, sinus support, breathing, leaky gut, digestive support. For women, we have bladder support, breast support, cycle support, reproductive wellness. It really is so endless. And I imagine that you have so many stories of particular people and cases. Can you share like some of the most interesting or powerful?
It has been a time where I cry a lot because who would have ever known? You know, I'm not for sure which seminar I was at. I don't know if it was a health optimization one where I met you, but at one of those Austin events, I was at 3 different ones. So I'll put it that way. A lady came running up and she had essential trimmers and her hands look like this.
Oh, we met her.
We know them.
Okay.
We know them from Dragonfly. We've met them
Okay.
before.
Oh, right, right.
The
We met,
sisters.
or we saw her at the booth. Yes. Okay. Yes. Tell the story. Definitely.
So
Yes.
she was like this. She had essential trimmers. She had them for 3 years. And her sister was with her, and her sister said, yeah, she can't even hold a glass of water, you know? And so someone, Jet, a lady who actually works at the booth, has amazing education and loves the WAVwatch. She actually put the watch on this lady and set it for wave relief, which is for inflammation, pain, and trauma, basically. And within 3 minutes, the lady's tremors went away that she had had for 3 years. And all she felt was a little tingle up her little finger and up underneath the WAVwatch up to her elbow, I think was about all that she felt. And then her tremors just went away. So the next day she comes running in and her hands are straight out, and she's showing steady as can be, And so that's a really exciting one, but
it's
we
life
have
changing.
Life
changing. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when I had 1,100 exact frequencies labeled, I added up and I had 500 different kinds of testimonies. And then I have multiples of some of those. So like, kidney stones, but I had 30 testimonies on kidney stones. So what we need to learn is that frequencies really do work for an amazing amount of things. We can't poo-poo that. People, they just can't believe it sometimes. Oh, there's no way. But it does. Frequencies work because they've been measured correctly and they will go throughout your body. Now, just some other, really fun ones. People started telling me that they were using it for their animals, of all kinds. So somebody sent me a picture of their duck that they had used the WAVwatch for that had a bacterial infection.
Oh my gosh.
But
did the duck wear the watch? How did this happen?
They actually put a washcloth over the watch, and then they showed me, the picture was of the duck laying its head on somebody's wrist, and they could feel the vibration, Well, then the rest of the story is that the chickens in the chicken house were making a semicircle and just kind of standing there and not moving and just watching the duck, which is unbelievable,
Wow.
So some really fun stories with animals and things like that. But another one just the other day, someone called from Denmark, and he was telling us that his daughter had been bedridden for about 2 years. She was about 12 years old. And his version of bedridden, I didn't get a full description of that, but she just didn't get out of bed. And it sounded like it was more depression and mental things. So they played the brain ideas. And his testimony is that in 2 hours or 2 sessions of playing brain, she got up and walked a mile.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I have that video shared on, several different
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So we have that.
Incredible.
So, I don't know the exact details of it, but really, really exciting. So, I've got all kinds of testimonies. I used to work I still work with women's breast health, natural breast health. And when I was testing and doing the prototype, I had 9 women who had breast lumps go away in about 30 minutes. So that was really exciting
30
for me.
minutes.
30 minutes. So I have their testimonies. I'm not saying they were cancerous, they just came in with a concern. And again, that's how I actually learned to play a variety of things. So I did have a frequency for breast lump. Okay. So if I just played that frequency by itself, I didn't notice a lot. But when I added inflammation, pain, and trauma, lymph detoxification, those kind of things, in 30 minutes, I saw those tumors change drastically. And that was testimonies from the women themselves. Now, one of them was a nurse. I mean, it wasn't a double-blind study, but one of them was a nurse. And her testimony was that she'd had this lump for about 6 months. And she could feel something, when she had the watch on, it went from here, to her breast area. And in about 30 minutes, it was tapioca sized. So that's really fun. You just never know.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have believed that myself. It's like, oh my goodness, wow, thank you, Lord. That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
I mean, and because you look at traditional medicine, and if you have a lump, like they put you down a rabbit hole of crazy testing, and it's not a good solution. So something as simple and easy as this, like that's incredible.
At least try it. If it doesn't do anything within a week,
it's not
you're
going to
going
hurt.
to, right. Exactly.
Yeah. At the very least, you can tell time without EMFs and have something cute on your wrist.
There you go.
At the very least.
Right. Yeah. So no EMFs. That's, I think, a really important point, because a lot of biohackers, that's always their first question when you're talking about some kind of wearable. They say, well, what about the EMFs? So how is this not producing EMFs?
Well, it's kind of like a song player, and it just has a TF card, in the inside of it now. And basically all of the frequencies are on that TF card. So it plays it without the need for hooking up to the internet in any way, shape, or form. So it's a standalone tool that I developed exactly for those purposes. I think I don't know that I mentioned yet that I have worked specifically with women's breast health for almost 20 years now. And
share more about that. Definitely.
Okay. So what I was noticing is that, women had so many problems, but, one lady came in who had actually worn her cell phone in her bra, and she had 3 kinds of breast cancer under that, and then another lady had changed work, and she had to start wearing her cell phone in her pocket. And within just a short period of time, like 3 to 6 months, she had a great big ovarian tumor that had to be taken out. And then another lady, and these are just clients of mine. I'm small. I don't have, but with that many ideas, that something is not right about the EMFs. And then the last one was an elderly lady that was, she leaned sideways. She wasn't able to hold herself up very straight. And she had a Lifeline alert, like one of those kind of products. And right under the Lifeline alert, she developed breast cancer within about 6 months. I mean, I didn't even think of those ideas. You think of the watch as being dangerous, but a Lifeline alert for seniors is dangerous too.
I never thought about that.
It's hooked to the internet. So it's so scary how we are using tools just right and left and not even thinking anything about it. So I am very proud to say that the WAVwatch tries to fix, about 1,100 ideas. It doesn't measure or monitor anything. What good is monitoring something? Sometimes you still have to know what to do, so we're trying to fix. We're not trying to monitor with a tool that causes more problems. So very important.
Just getting right to the root. And would you say it's harmonizing these negative effects from non-native EMF?
That's one of my favorite phrases, is harmonizing, balancing,
Yeah.
Wow. Harmony. We should all want more harmony in the body.
Yeah. And, they keep saying love is one of the best frequencies, and so we have the love frequency on there, and obviously in the emotions folder. And it is true. We need to get those emotions and harmonize and love frequencies out there.
Is that in mood balance? Is there a love?
Yes, I think that would be one of them.
Okay. Yeah. I love that. I go for the mood balance a lot. It calls to me. I don't know. I like that one.
Yeah. I I just real quick, I was reading an article. I get this publication in my email called Nice News. It's like positive news. There's some scientific breakthroughs in there. And an article stood out to me. It was like what happens in your body when you have a broken heart. And I just put my dog down 2 weeks ago, and I'm still like in the denial stage,
Yeah.
moving into grief. And I was like kind of curious what they would say, and kind of went through the physiological effects and then solutions. And I was going through like cognitive brain support. It went through a few different therapies, and I was thinking like, where's the sound? Why is sound not on here? Like that should be the number one thing.
Mm,
Would you say? I
yeah.
mean, we have these emotion ideas on here. Like, is
Have you
sound the
been
first thing we
using
should
them?
go to?
Have you been running some of those?
I haven't. It hit me this morning that I need to be doing that.
So even like calming or, rebalancing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping
And
to
the
start seeing
harmonize
it in
one
more
is the
articles.
one that has, oh, I forgot. Harmonize has the love frequency on it too. Yes.
Oh, okay. I do
Yeah.
that one a lot
Yeah.
too. I like
Yeah.
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 Linda, I would
Excellent.
love to go back to how this all started for you with your journey. Like, how did you discover sound frequency?
Uh, well, a couple of
Back
little
to your
ideas. I was born completely deaf in one ear, and they didn't discover it until I was in the third grade. And evidently, they said I was missing a part. And so there wasn't anything that they could do about it. But, my journey up until them not discovering it for, third grade, I had to have figured out a few things, I guess, on how to survive in a world so that I could look at people correctly to hear them. I mean, if I'm facing the wrong way, I can't hear anything. So I had to learn a few steps. And those steps were actually what helped me later in life, because both my sister and mother developed breast cancer about 6 months apart. And just like you mentioned a while ago, you go to the doctor and they didn't do one test on me. Their idea was just, oh, go ahead and have a double mastectomy. It's in your family. I didn't have anything wrong, but their advice was that. And some women do that. They take
yeah.
that advice and have, something done when they don't actually have any cancer in their body. And so I chose not to do that. I was a teacher, and, I'm going, I can figure out something better than that advice. So I stopped my teaching career and I developed a business, which I named BRAS, Breast Research Awareness and Support. And it has a BRAS logo. And so for decades, I've been teaching women how to protect their breast health naturally. And I have used thermography, which is a different tool than a mammogram, without radiation, no pressure. It's just a camera system that takes images that are heat relative. They're seeking for heat patterns, and they are interpreted by medical community. So I'm just a real fancy photographer, I guess you'd say, and I send those to the medical doctors for their particular interpretations. And then I am teaching women my ideas that I have come up with for natural support, because they're not getting that from the medical doctors who are interpreting it. That comes from my office and my staff. So that has been very important to share with people, that there are so many things. So I've seen the gamut from, thousands of women. I mean, some of them have Epstein-Barr virus, some of them have E. coli, some of them have emotional problems. One lady I took images of, and your breasts are supposed to be very cool and blue, and hers were bright red, completely red. And so when I stood and visited with her, she was a diet pop drinker. She drank only diet pop, 8 cans a day. So all I had to do was convince her to stop drinking that and come back and see if it changed. So I took a picture of her 2 weeks later, and voila, almost all the redness was gone. So we could just see, yes, we could just see with an image how her lifestyle was causing her breast problems. And other things that we could see, there are 8 teeth that actually connect with your breast health. There's 2 up and 2 down on each side, and drainage from them, whether it's from materials in your mouth or from actual, infections, can cause breast problems. And so we can see that. We can take a picture and it could be white hot right here, and you can see it just kind of trickle on down to the breast area. And so that is very informative for women because people do not believe that. We have not been taught how important our dental health is for every area in our body, but particularly the breasts. So,
Dad is a
and so,
biological dentist, and so our audience is
yeah,
keen
Yeah.
on,
and
yeah.
so
I can
those
just
are,
think mom and dad right now are like, yes, thank you for saying
Thank you,
that. Like,
Linda.
not enough people are talking about dental health. So thank you. I know they're probably so
huge.
appreciative of that. Yeah.
It is
Yeah. Huge
huge.
connection.
So that's really how I got to develop the WAVwatch because I was just starting to get overwhelmed with all the things that I was teaching women that were natural and lots of ideas. And I'm not really a pill pusher, even if it's a natural supplement. I don't want somebody to have 25 pills, a day. We want it as simple as we can. And so it was getting to be a little bit overwhelming. And, I had the idea about frequencies years ago. And, it's like, okay, God, tell me what to do. And it's like, now's the time for your frequencies. And so I started developing it when I got that nod,
Mm.
and got it developed the year I retired when I turned 65 during COVID is when I launched the WAVwatch. So that was a fun story too. Just getting it
Oh,
all
wow.
going.
Oh, keeping you busy.
Keeping me
I'm
busy.
just
Yeah.
curious for anyone that doesn't know much about thermography. Can you just share thermography as more of like a preventive tool? Because we can see things, functional changes,
Yes.
5, 10, maybe even more years
Mm-hmm.
prior
You
to something we
said
would
it.
see on a mammogram.
Yes. I'm so glad that you're educated about that. So many women still haven't heard of it. And every once in a while, you'll hear there's some suspicion with mammograms. It's like, come on, people. That is a huge problem when we are smashing our breasts a quarter of an inch thick.
Mm.
And what woman wouldn't know if you had a tumor in there that it smashed it, it would spread it. But they tell us, oh no, there's no problem with that. We need to follow our intuition. And I hate to say this example, but my mother had 30 mammograms and then 5 more after they discovered her cancer. My sister, who was just a year older than I was, had 20 and I'd only had 1 because I went and got my first one and I said, they're never going to touch me again. I don't believe in this. And so they are survivors, and at that point in time, one did chemo and one did radiation and chemo, I think. But they had to make those choices. But my mother was the person who said, well, they just sent me a letter every year to come and get my mammogram done, so I did. She thought she was doing a really good job. But we need to be alerting women to use our intuition a little bit more, to use some caution with some of the things that we are doing. So mammograms would be one of those things that I would say, take with a grain of salt. And so you can look up the word thermography, and it's just a camera system, like I mentioned before, and it's just heat seeking. So if it sees something that's, a color that's not supposed to be in that particular area, like your thyroid if you take a picture of it, it's supposed to be really cool, and just kind of blue-green across here. But sometimes you'll see women's thyroids lit up. You can see a bow tie exactly. Wow. Now, do you think that's correct?
Wow.
No, that's all inflamed. There's something wrong with it. So, the bow tie right here, there's a problem. So they have different ideas that they look for on colors and the heat idea on that. And yes, it can give us ideas years before. Now, I'm not saying it's perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it definitely has less problems than the mammograms do.
Yeah, I had a crazy experience last year with all of this. I wish I had known you a year ago because I did full body thermography about 7 years ago just to be preventive with it, and everything looked great. And then a year ago, I found a lump in my right breast. So I went and got a new thermography, and kind of like you were saying with that other case, like it lit up. It was like bright red. The other breast actually had a little bit of red. And the woman that did it said, I think you're fine. I think it's just like a lymphatic clog. I forget what the term she said, but it does kind of look like this one patient I had that had breast cancer. And that got in my head and it totally scared me. And so, and of course, my gynecologist is like, mammogram, ultrasound, probably a biopsy. And I'm like, I pushed it off for months and months. And it really got to me, the
In
fear.
your emotions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's not like me. Like Lauren and I have grown up with holistic health, for almost 40 years, but it got to me and I gave in. I finally did the mammogram and that was just awful. Like you, I'm like one and done. I am never doing that again.
Mhm.
It was so painful and just, I wish I hadn't done it. But then they did find a lump and then I had a biopsy and everything was fine. So, but it's crazy how they put that fear in your head and you
Mhm.
kind of lose yourself a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyways.
And the stories that these women tell, it is just amazing that we are doing as good as we are, because we have such negativity sometimes from our medical community. I mean, one of my stories, when I was 18 years old, I had a lump in my breast and I went to a family doctor out in the country in Eastern Colorado. That night, I was in the hospital having that lump removed. I know, what a way to, and it gets even worse. I mean, they had an assistant who had just joined the hospital and she didn't even have all of her certification yet. And they gave me a shot to put me out and she faints. She's standing there.
Oh
I'm looking at them working on me, and somebody else is coming in to pick up this girl
no.
that
Is
fainted
she
on the
okay?
floor.
Oh,
Oh
God.
no.
So, I mean, it's crazy the things that they have done, over the years, and you think about. So
Yeah.
women, we just need to maybe learn some different tools that are very much guiding for you, and they can be a starting point. Then you can, research even more and continue to work with the medical field if you choose to do that. I mean, it's a yes or no, but if you start with the medical field, you're going to be, in that particular area and funneled one particular direction.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think the education is so helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you taking on clients, female clients? Like if someone wants to come see you, is that a possibility?
Yes, I still have clients in Kansas City area, and I do have an assistant that I've turned all that over to now,
Okay.
So we
All
do
in
have the,
person.
uh-huh,
Do you do
it is,
any online virtual consultations?
we do not at this point in time.
All
No.
right, we got to go to Kansas City. So,
Yeah, you got to go to Kansas City.
so if you can't make it to Kansas City, yeah, the WAVwatch. So we'll put all these resources in the show notes, but anything else that you want to share about the watch? I do have one question, maybe just about the volume, because you can
There is
hear
one for,
sound. Yeah.
I forgot to mention, I do have about 13 different franchises online. So if you go to Bras Thermography,
Ooh.
Oh,
I don't know
okay.
why I didn't say that. Duh. Brasthermography.com. You can see the different areas of the country that I do have different offices, different women that have purchased the business idea. So
That's
yes,
great.
yeah,
Amazing.
sorry
That's
about
great.
that.
Okay. We'll link to
Okay.
that in the show notes. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So helpful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the
And then you were,
volume,
yes,
Lauren.
then
Yeah,
you
on
were
the
asking
watch.
about the volume on the watch. You
Yeah.
just need to make sure that it's not on zero. It has to be vibrating, so that your body can feel it. And it doesn't have to be loud, but some people really enjoy playing it loud. They have laughed and
Yeah.
said, yeah, I go to a party and it's as loud as it can be. So then people come up and talk to me. So
I
they
think
have
I
so
heard
much
you on
fun
a
with it.
podcast saying you walked into a bank or something and everyone was like, what is that?
Yes, I did. So, my deafness kind of surprised me there.
Oh.
That it scared other people and I couldn't even hear it. Yes. So
Oh,
the tellers
interesting.
thought it was something very bad.
Oh my gosh.
So our husbands are a little like, my husband thought he had tinnitus. He was like, the ringing. I was like, no, it's the watch. So now he's
Yeah.
used to it, but you can adjust the volume a little bit.
Right. You adjust the volume, put it on about 3 to 4, about middle, so that you don't hear it. And then when you tighten your watch up, you can't hear it. But sometimes if your watch
Oh,
gets loose and you're, flipping your hand around, you'll hear it.
oh,
Yes,
that
I've
makes
noticed
sense.
that. Or if I have a
Mhm.
long sleeve over it.
That actually takes the sound away a little bit also. That's good.
Is that
That's
okay
okay.
to do that?
Definitely
Okay.
okay.
Sometimes if
Mhm.
I'm around like my cats, because sometimes there certain frequencies, their ears are like bing.
Yes.
I'm
So I'll just
sure.
roll my sleeve down and then they can't really hear it. Yeah.
So you do know how to turn it down? You've turned it down before?
I
Yeah.
just figured this out today because I must have accidentally turned it down, or maybe my husband figured out how to turn it down.
Oh
But
my
I was like, it's
gosh.
not making noise anymore. So now it's back up. But I
Yeah.
personally like the sound. I like there's sort of a placebo effect if I know it's on and I know it's working.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I've
yeah,
kept
And
mine at
everybody
about a
has a different
7.
idea. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
And
just turned
some of
mine
them
down to
don't make
5, but
as much noise. Is that right? Or obviously the different tracks
Right.
all have
We
different
try
frequencies.
to normalize all of them about the same sound, but once in a while, some of the emotional frequencies will have a little bit softer sound to
Got
them.
it.
You know.
Okay.
okay.
Now, I don't know that I've mentioned yet that, you could be wearing the watch and your child could be sitting on your lap and they will be absorbing those frequencies, or your dog could sit on your lap and they absorb frequencies. So another little story that I like to share is I wasn't quite sure if I believed it when somebody called and said, hey, I got on an airplane and there was this baby screaming in front of me. So I just put my WAVwatch on calming and turned it up as loud as it would go. And that baby just calmed right down. I thought, oh, it's kind of neat. Well, now I've had 6 other people tell me that. It's just not one time. Lots of people
Oh,
have discovered that they can do that. So you can share frequencies in ways you never even thought about. So on the
that's cool.
airplane, and then I've had other people tell me on an airplane that they just, they were holding hands with their boyfriend or whatever, and something changed. They were working on joints and somebody's joints improved. So all kinds of amazing stories about sharing frequencies. So
That's cool. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to try the plane one. Yeah. And I guess you could probably turn it up pretty loud on the plane because there's so
yeah,
much noise happening.
nobody's going to hear
No
that.
one's going to
Maybe
be like,
calm
what
us all
is
down.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually
Or-
don't hear mine unless I'm in a totally silent room. And I'm like, oh, right.
Yeah.
But again,
Now,
I really
probably my
like it.
favorite story of all on sharing them is this gentleman that called and he said he bought the WAVwatch for his wife with Parkinson's. And then you could tell he was trying to figure out what to say, kind of cleared his throat. And finally he blurts out and he says, and we sleep really close together. I'm
Oh,
going, okay. And then he blurts out again, and I could feel her frequencies when she had the WAVwatch on. And I got up the next morning and my feet didn't hurt, he says. And I'm going, oh, that's really neat. He goes, no, you don't understand. They've hurt for 15 years. I've been on meds for 15 years.
oh my gosh.
So he called back
Wow.
later, and I like to say that he continued to snuggle with his wife because in
Oh,
2 weeks he was off his meds that he'd been on for 15 years.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that was a great Valentine's story? He snuggled with his
yeah.
wife and the way watch
That's so
works.
sweet. Oh, that's
The
so
power
sweet.
of cuddling.
There you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
so many
incredible.
amazing stories.
Yeah.
It's
My
awesome.
gosh. Well, Linda, thank you so much for sharing. I'm really obsessed with this and I just want everyone to have one. But
Yeah.
tell us, so we'll send our audience to WAVwatch.com. Anything in particular for them to learn or find? We have the bras thermography.com, WAVwatch.com.
And they
Any
can
other
use your
resources?
code biohackers,
Yeah. Biohacker
biohacker
babes.
babes,
Biohacker babes.
biohacker babes,
Thank
and
you.
and that is worth $100 off when they use that. Now, right now we're having a special sale, so it'll be worth $150 off. So this is our biggest sale. It's going for several days, and we are giving away Patriot wristbands also with that. So at this point in time, that would be a good idea to get in on that deal.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Okay, Linda, one final question for you. If our audience could start doing one thing today to optimize their health, what would you recommend?
If they can't get the WAVwatch, I'd say salt. Make sure that they are taking salt. And I take about a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon every day. That's how many minerals that we do need. So
Awesome.
Any
it's huge.
particular way that you add them to your water or food? Do you have a ritual?
I even have a mushroom coffee that I put it in, or sometimes at night, if I haven't taken enough, I'll just make a little shot glass full of water, and I know a lot of people try to dissolve it in water and do some things like that, but I'm just a spur of the moment person and take it down that way.
Shots.
Great.
Salt.
Shots. I love
Shot
salt.
glass.
I love salt. I don't have to.
Me too. I actually can't drink coffee without salt. I always have salt.
There you go. Isn't that interesting?
I think it
We
tastes
need to be
better.
adding that to our coffee. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for the adrenals.
Well, thank you so much. This is so wonderful. We're so grateful for you spending time with us. I know you are busy. You got lots of podcasts today. So we're just very lucky. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. It was really fun.
Good. We try to have fun.
Yeah.
All right.
Awesome.
And thanks to everyone that tuned in. We will see you next time.